Hello, and welcome back to my podcast. I took a break from podcasting because it really was feeling not fully in alignment with me at that time. As I was moving through my divorce and the healing over the last 3 years, I really was just following what was feeling aligned, feeling heart-led, healing me and etc. Those types of things. And once it started to feel draining or started to feel forced, I kind of just allowed things to relax until I was ready to pick them back up. And the other day I was talking to my daughter and I was saying to her, I just said, you know what, Mila, I feel like I want to talk about love. She was like, let's talk about it, which is such a thing for her to say. And then it made me realize that I wanted to talk about love more. And I've been wanting to talk about love for a long time. I have been really feeling like love has been leading, has been healing, has been a part of my journey a lot over the last 3 years, surprisingly, because it was a journey of separation and divorce. Um, but somehow love found its way, weaved its way through and really was the catalyst to a lot of my healing. I will speak to more around that in another episode. Um, but it really was an experience of love healing and allowing more love in and realizing that I was the source of love. And in that realization, a lot of healing, a lot of growth, a lot of expansion happened. And so I really was feeling called to speak more about love. So, podcast is now called With Love, and everything I talk about will be with love, whether it is about love or from love or to love. So today we are going to talk about somatic therapy. And I want to talk about somatic therapy because it is really a significant sort of shift in therapy right now. It is one of the most sustainable, most empowering forms of healing. It is something that has really been a part of my practice throughout this whole healing process, was to really get into my body, to heal and clear from my body. And the thing about the body is that it's not just the physical body, but the emotional body, the spiritual body, the energetic body, really focusing on how I can heal this vessel and not just the mind. And that was an absolute game changer for me and also for the clients that I work with, and also the direction of where my work has been moving towards. I do a lot more body-based healing, which somatic means of the body. Soma is Greek for body. So somatic therapy just means therapies that are of the body, um, that sort of focus on or highlight the body as the lead for the therapy. We are following the guidance, the wisdom, the needs of the body. And so some modalities that I use now are massage, Reiki. I do hot stone and lymphatic, Reiki, massage with Reiki, breath work, yoga, even some hypnotherapies are emotion based. So we actually go into the body or into the hypnosis, into the trance through an emotion that's presenting in the body. Parts work, IFS, internal family systems, that is, again, a somatic therapy because we are connected to the body. So any therapies that are focused on entering into the person through a body-based experience, whether it's a physical sensation, an emotional sensation, an energetic sensation. We're using the body to connect to the individual, to connect to the healing, to connect to the process. That's really what somatic therapy is. It's actually an interesting story. So about 5 years ago, I was, practicing therapy and I was kind of feeling like something was missing, like there was something else I needed. And I remember we were at the passport office getting our passports. This was like during COVID, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, I need like a sign, like what am I supposed to be doing? Like I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something else. And then someone walked past me and they were wearing an RBC jacket and the logo said, "Be what's next." And I was like, okay, like feel like that's for me, you know, interesting. And then I was like, what's next? Like, what's next? And then I started hearing somatic therapy like everywhere, all around me. At that time, this was about 5 years ago. That's when I started to learn somatic therapy. I became a somatic practitioner at that time, and then just continued to sort of advance my somatic practices more and more over those years. And now in 2026, somatic therapy, nervous system regulation, more body-based therapies are getting a lot more attention, a lot more validity, a lot more focus, because we know now that the body actually stores memory. The body stores before the mind even can make memory. And so a lot of our what is unprocessed is living in our bodies, and it's actually feeding the mind. So we know now that the body is actually an element of our subconscious. What is stored in the body is usually below our level of awareness, and even more so because we have been looking at the body so separate that what is stored in our body has been not even in our awareness in terms of how it could be informing our emotional state, our mental state, our spiritual state. Like we have been looking at these two pieces, body and mind, completely different. And now we're understanding that they're actually influencing one another. The body is influencing the mind, and the mind is receiving from the body and influencing the body. So now we know that we actually have to look at the body as part of the healing process, not just in its physical state, but in the emotions that are stored, in the trauma that's stored, in the pain that's stored, and also not just in that, in the sort of wounded side of it, but also the healing side of it. The body holds a lot of wisdom, a lot of intuition, a lot of insights, a lot of energy. Our emotions have wisdom. So when we disregard the body, we disregard our opportunities for sustainable healing, and also for the wisdom that is in the body, that is naturally stored in the body. So I basically want to kind of lay the foundation for why somatic therapy works, why we move out of more cognitive-based therapies and into more body-based therapies for real sustainable healing. A lot of clients that I have been getting recently have been because they are looking for somatic work, because they have been doing talk therapy and they can only get so far with awareness that is happening in the mind. Because if we are not feeling our feelings, we cannot move. If there's no movement in the body, there's no movement in the life. And I mean like on an energetic, you know, emotional sense. But it's a matter of moving the stuck and stagnation of the body so that we can move the stuck stagnation of our lives. And we can't do that just by using our minds, just by willpower alone, just by reframing our thoughts. And I'll get more to that as we talk. But I really want to lay the foundation for why somatic therapy is the most sustainable, effective form of therapy that we can be looking at right now for long-term, like really rooted, grounded, embodied results. So a main topic of conversation that's been going on right now is nervous system regulation. Even in like the life coaching world, in the healing world, everything right now is focused on nervous system regulation because we understand that we cannot hold what we don't have room for. And so a lot of focus is on receiving, manifesting, creating the life that you want, etc. The therapy world is sort of more focused on letting things go, releasing and healing. And then like the coaching world is more focused on like creating and like what we can bring into our lives. And, you know, because I have the therapy and the coaching lens, I really bring both of those pieces together. Our healing is really based on what we are looking to create. And as we are moving into what we are wanting to create, naturally, anything that is in the way of our ability to do that, our fears, our doubts, our traumas, our beliefs, our unprocessed emotions naturally rise as we try to move towards things that we want, as we even declare things that we want, as we even ask ourselves, what do I want? Instinctually, the resistance will come up, and that is our indication of what we are to heal. And so because therapy is more focused on releasing and coaching is more focused on calling in, both of these experiences are, you know, they are both pairing together now because we are realizing that we can't really call in anything into our lives if we feel unsafe, if we feel unworthy, if we feel afraid of loss, afraid of receiving, afraid of, letting go and opening up space to trust, to let in, etc. If we are in survival mode, if we are anything basically that has not been healed from our wounds. And so the coaching space is really seeing for things that we call in to be more sustainable. We need to have healed our bodies, our nervous systems, etc., in order to feel safe to receive, in order to feel able to receive, in order to feel empowered in our receiving, but not only that, but in our creation, in our ability to live sovereign and aligned lives based on like who we truly are and what we truly want. These two pieces have to be combined. So this is why this kind of conversation is really around right now, because we're realizing that it's not just mental work, it's actually somatic embodiment that creates sustainability and alignment in our healing process. So we know now that it's not only the mind that stores memory, it's the body that stores memory. So I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier in the episode, is that our body is also our subconscious. When we are in our early lives, especially when we don't even have thought forming yet, so we don't have a way for the mind to remember, it doesn't have thought, it doesn't have memory yet. And so the way we are sensing and feeling the world is actually through our nervous system. It's through the energetic experience of how the world is interacting with us, how those interactions make our bodies feel. Is it making us feel tight, feel open? Is it making us pull away? Is it making us, go towards? Is it making us cry? Is it making us scared? Our nervous system is having various reactions that, at those early years, we don't have names for, but we're experiencing them, and we're experiencing how they are making our nervous systems react. Are they closing or are they opening? Are they relaxing or are they contracting? Are they tight or are they loose? And are they shocked or are they soft? And so our nervous system is kind of having these early experiences, and those early experiences are becoming sort of like encoded into our nervous system. Even before we can remember anything, even before we have thought, our body starts to create memory encoding and recognition and recall based on the somatic experiences that are happening in the body in relation to the environment and to the people in the environment around us. And so we can notice that a lot of people will say, I don't really remember a lot of things from my childhood. And with somatic-based therapies, we think, okay, we need memories. We need memories and thoughts in order to access information. However, with body-based therapies, we understand that we can speak the language of the body, which is sensation. If you have stuckness, tightness, tension, if you have any emotions, fear, shame, guilt, sadness, all of these things are unprocessed and they're living in the body, they're stored in the body, and we can do healing through this without even any memory of like why I'm sad, why I'm angry, why I'm happy, why I'm feeling shame, why I'm feeling fear. We don't even need to know why. If the emotion exists, that in and of itself is an indication of a memory that lives in the body, and we can just work with that emotion that's presenting. And oftentimes, because the body and the mind are connected, as that emotion starts to be explored, memories start to rise up into the subconscious, or even like awarenesses that maybe don't quite make sense. You might have images of, darkness or, sadness or like a scary face or something like that. And those things will be like, oh, this is kind of reminding me of this time in my life. So as we start to explore the emotion, it starts to loosen and resolve, then we can get some information around what memory is there as we're healing and processing. But we do not need to remember a thought in order to heal the past, in order to release from the past. We can work with what is showing up in the body, because the body is the subconscious, it is remembering and is containing those memories in the form of sensation, emotion, tension, tightness, pain, fatigue. Those are all the language of the body. And once we start to listen and learn that language, then we can start to unlock the body and free it from the stored traumas that are in there, the stored emotions, the stored unprocessed emotions that are living in it. And because the body is the subconscious and what is stored in there begins to influence the mind. So the body and our unprocessed sadness, fear, guilt, shame, hurt, pain, anything like that that is in the body is then feeding into our thoughts. So creating thoughts of sadness, hopelessness, anger, resentment, anything like that. So we can kind of tell if we look at the theme of our thoughts, if we look at how our thoughts are making us feel, then we can have a direct link back to what is unprocessed in the body. And because our body is our subconscious and it's feeding into our thoughts, and then our thoughts create our experiences, they create our actions, they create our decisions, they create our perspective, our unprocessed wounds in the body are then actively influencing our thoughts, our health, our relationships, our sense of who we are, which is why it's really important for us to be clearing these out so we can have renewed health, renewed thoughts, renewed relationships, and a renewed sense of who we are. Because we understand that the subconscious influences the conscious, and the subconscious also includes our body on an even deeper layer than just thinking of the subconscious in the mind, we are able to understand that working at this more root base is going to create a much more sustainable healing. Because if the subconscious is influencing the conscious, if our subconscious mind is influencing our thoughts that we are more aware of, then if we just start to work on the thoughts, then the subconscious continues to influence and we continue to have to work on those thoughts. And it's sort of like this thing you have to like kind of keep racing against because the subconscious continues to influence. And then we're trying to change it from more of the expression or the outcome than the actual source. And your thoughts are basically an expression of what's being held in your subconscious, and your body is an aspect, a deep aspect of your subconscious. And so your thoughts are an expression of what's being held in your body. And the important part about this is that what we think, we believe, we act on. What we act on, the decisions that we make, create the lives that we live. So as we change within our subconscious, we change what we think and what we believe and we act on, and ultimately the lives that we live. So if you are noticing your thought themes, if I have a lot of fear-based thoughts, a lot of worry thoughts, if I notice I'm overthinking a lot, I can check in with like what emotion is am I thinking about, or what emotion am I, when I'm thinking, is that making me feel? All of this, using our thoughts, our themes, the nature of our thoughts and how they're making us feel can direct us right back into the body and what's unprocessed, because that thought is a projection of whatever is being stored in the body. So we can really take our thoughts, not so literally, but as indications of what is stored in the body. We can literally trace them back to a sensation, a feeling, an emotion that is in the body, and we can work at that root. And so this is where CBT and other cognitive behavioral therapies fall short, is because they're working at the level of thought. And, while this part is useful, it is useful for hypnotherapy, cognitive therapies, the reframing, the reprogramming, the rewiring, the realigning. That's all very useful, impeccably useful, but it is more sustainable if we are working from a clean slate, if we are not battling against old thoughts, old feelings, unprocessed emotions, but if we are first doing releasing and then we are doing the realigning, that is how we have a way easier time, because now we're actually just affirming truth as opposed to trying to battle against false narratives or unprocessed emotions or traumas or, just limiting beliefs. And so we release and then we realign. And this is where CBT and more mind-based therapies are more effective. So a really simple analogy that I love for this is bees and a beehive. And so basically our thoughts are like bees. The bees come and we try to swat the bees, and we're trying to like get rid of these bees. And, that's all fine and dandy. We're trying to swat the bees. But the thing is, the bees just keep coming. They keep stinging you. They keep coming. We just keep trying to hit the bees. And then eventually we're like, where are these bees coming from? And this is what happens with our thoughts. We're like, these thoughts just keep coming. And then at some point, we're like, hold on a second. The bees must be coming from somewhere. Let me go find the source. And then we locate the hive. And the hive is the source where the bees are coming from. Somatically speaking, the hive is the emotion. It's the space in the body that is unprocessed where all of our thoughts are coming from. And so when we follow the bees back to their hive, we can take out the hive the same way if we follow the thoughts back to the source, we can take out the source in the body. And this not only clears the body, but it also clears the mind simultaneously. This is how I like to take a look at it. If we just work on the cognitive level, we're just killing bees, they're going to keep coming, they're going to keep stinging, and it's going to be this sort of constant upkeep of like, I have to keep this up, versus I can clear and have an open space and realign. And then actually the beautiful part is the more I practice and affirm this truth is that it actually then becomes my subconscious. And then what these new beliefs are start to become what is fed into my conscious mind, because I now am embodying these new thoughts and these new emotions and these new feelings and this new way of being in my body and in myself. And then that starts to inform my conscious, and then those become my thoughts and beliefs, and then that becomes my actions and decisions, and that becomes my experience of life. This is why somatic work creates such a lasting change. And this is why I like to go from nervous system regulation, which is a lot of the focus. And it's sort of like the foundation is like safety, but a lot of therapies stop at creating safety. But what I like to do is safety is like our bare minimum. And then we're building off of that safety. We're building off into empowerment, into self-trust, into deep connection with self, deep trust with self, so that we don't always need to feel safe. We can take the risks we want to take. We can trust the things that we want to trust, even though we can't quite see the outcomes. And we can feel safe in that connection, in that experience, even if it's something that is not implied safety. There's a level of self-trust, a level of empowerment, a level of connection that allows us to move forward without the need to always have a safe feeling and just like not be able to sort of move outside of that safe feeling, because we always need to maintain the safe feeling. The safety becomes something that is embodied. It's not something that is based on a situation or a circumstance or things kind of staying all the same or staying in control. It's something that is an embodied state of being that is sort of carried through because we are connected and there's a level of self-trust. And so we want to move from creating safety in the nervous system and then building on that safety to empowerment, to authenticity, to self-trust, and to all of the things that kind of want to come through you authentically that require you to trust yourself and the process, but don't always feel safe. You're not always in control. There's not always a guarantee. And so this is sort of, if we just stop at safety, then there's this element of like, I have to maintain safety. I still have to kind of be in a comfort zone, because if I go out of the comfort zone, I don't feel safe. We don't want to be stuck in this experience of like, I need to just maintain safety, because it implies I'm not capable. And then it's not actually true safety. Safety comes from I'm capable, I trust myself, I can expand past these barriers of like needing everything to stay a certain way so that I feel safe. So I find that sometimes nervous system regulation, in my opinion, can have like an air of like, people are kind of soft and like incapable of stepping outside of their comfort zones. And so they have to maintain safety. But in the coaching realm, for example, safety is more looked at as something you can stack on than as something you are like aiming to maintain, if that makes sense. I would say for me, the objective is to feel empowered, not just safe, and safety is the foundation for empowerment. And when we're working with the body, I also find that a part of the safety and empowerment piece is that you actually get to learn that you are safe in your body, that it is safe to feel your feelings, that it is safe to connect with yourself, that the feelings that you have been running from, the feelings that you have been avoiding because they have been terrifying you, that you feel like you're going to drown in them. You feel like you don't know what to do with them. You feel like you have no control over them. Those feelings now become something that you can access and receive wisdom from, and you feel more connected to and more, I want to say in control of, but in relationship with. And this in itself is a game changer where you're like, I feel safe in my body. Something's coming up for me and I can engage with it and I can be curious about it, as opposed to feeling like I'm completely taken over and triggered and hijacked and I have lost full control of like what I want to do and how I'm being. And now I'm saying things I don't mean and doing things I don't want to do. This is how people are experiencing their emotions. So they feel completely unsafe and completely out of control. But what we do with embodiment work is you start to come back to yourself in connection with, you're being with, you're in relationship with. And so when things are rising, you are able to be with them as they come up, and they're not sort of like running away from you. And now you're at a complete loss of control of yourself. So I find that embodiment work it in itself is empowering because it brings you back into your body in a way that feels very connected. And the importance of being connected to our physical bodies, like they're everything. If our body breaks down, we break down. If our body can't move, we can't move. Like if we're unhealthy, we can't experience life in the way that, in our highest and best ability to experience life. So our ability to connect with our bodies, live in our bodies in a healthy, strong, supportive, loving, understanding, and like reciprocal way is really empowering in itself. And somatic work allows us to have that experience of our body. And so that kind of leads me into the embodiment process. So when I was working through my Become Your Own Healer program, what sort of came through to me was the 7-step process of embodiment that allows us to be with an emotion naturally when that is already coming up for us. Let's say we're triggered and an emotion is rising. We learn how to be with it through the 7-step process. Or because the mind and the body are working together, something that is really cool and allows you to be the creator of your life and not just sort of like the reactor of it, is that if I think about something, my body is going to have a physiological response to that thought as if it is really happening. So I can elicit a feeling that I want to heal and move through and process just by thinking of a situation. And we do this all the time without even noticing. Half the times that we're anxious is because we're just thinking about things in our head and it's causing feelings in our body, but like nothing's actually happening in the space around us. It's our mind-body connection, our psychosomatic connection. I think a thought and my body is responding as if it's happening. And this happens all the time. What we actually want to do and what we're actually meant to do as people in our evolution is to use this intentionally. I'm supposed to intentionally be able to use these like understandings of my mind and my body and of myself and how my system works in my advantage, because as humans, we are creators. And this is just a little aside, but we have what's called metacognition, which is our ability to think about what we're thinking about, because we create based on our thoughts. And so if we're just creating based on every thought that's happening, then we're kind of bringing into the world, into our lives, anything and everything. And so it becomes very chaotic. So we're actually supposed to, because we're creators and because we create based on what we think and believe, we're supposed to be able to think about what we're thinking about so we can decide, do I want to create based on this thought? Do I want to take an action based on this thought? Do I want to bring into this world, into my life, what this thought would lead to? This is something that we are supposed to be using intentionally, because again, everything that's not made by nature is made by people. So we want to be able to reflect on, when I put this into motion, what are the outcomes? What it will happen? Do I want to create this? Yes or no? And this is why we have that ability. And so we have this ability with our mind and body as well to think about something and elicit a feeling. And so we can think about something and see how it's going to make us feel. We can think about something and see the resistance that we have to it. If I think about, going on a date and now I'm nervous, okay, now I know I want to heal this because this is preventing me maybe from moving forward. Or if I think about quitting my job or leaving my marriage and fear comes up, now I know exactly what I need to heal because this is the emotion that rose that I'm avoiding as I'm considering taking this next step. And so we literally can use our thoughts to test what is going to come up for me. And now I know exactly what I need to be working with to unlock and open and release myself so that I can move forward. These are very accessing, and our ability to understand how our system works helps us to use it intentionally so that it's not being used against us. If we know, okay, and when I think about something, my body responds, then maybe I'm more intentional about what I'm thinking of, and I'm understanding that a lot of my responses from my body are coming from my thoughts. They're not coming from my reality. And so if I'm anxious or if I'm worried, I can ask myself, what am I thinking about right now? Because this thought is creating these emotions. I can probably look around and see that none of this is happening in my reality, and that I'm creating feelings with my thoughts, and that I'm creating thoughts with my feelings. And so this is what somatic work does for us. It helps us to not only have a deeper connection with our body because we're healing and releasing, and we're feeling more safe and empowered to land in it, receive its wisdom, its intuition. Our body has, I didn't talk about this too much, but our body has also in it so much wisdom. If we talk just specifically about like the chakra system talks about our root, our sacral, our solar plexus, our heart, our throat, our third eye, etc. All of these areas receive energy and then offer information from how that reception of energy is feeding into us. If those areas are open, we have insights, we have ideas, we have love pour through, we have, our identity is expanded, and we have ideas come up. If our sacral chakra is open, we have creativity, we have sexuality, we have expression, we have wants and needs and emotions. So as energy is flowing through the body and moving through these chakra points, which is like a good framework or foundation for understanding each area, we can see what wisdom the body is trying to offer us, what intuition the body is trying to give us. And the more we clear out the blockages in our body, the more we are able to receive those wisdoms and sort of land in our body and come into and trust what the feelings are telling us, what the sensations are telling us, what the information in our body is trying to convey to us using the language that the body speaks, which is sensation, energy, emotion, etc. So going back to the embodiment process and using this process, the 7-step process, to land deeper into the body, reconnect to the body, receive its wisdom intentionally or in a situation where we are triggered. So what we do, we start with eliciting the emotion. First, we start with safety and grounding and connecting to the body. And then we elicit the emotion. We think, well, when was the last time I felt? Or when was the most recent time I felt, etc. And we elicit the feeling. And then as that feeling is coming up, because we've sort of summoned it, we are now able to be with it as it rises. We are able to notice those first tightnesses, those first tensions that come up. And we are really staying with the sensation. We're not going into the story of, oh no, this is going to hurt, or oh no, I'm not lovable, or oh no, and everyone's going to hate me, whatever the story starts to rise in the mind. No, we don't go to the story. We stay with the sensation. Oh, there's a tightness in my shoulder. There's a tingling here. Oh, my heart's beating a little bit quicker. And we start to be with what is emerging just in the body's language of it. The sensation, the heat, the coolness, the tightness, the tingling, the tenderness, the heaviness, the whatever. We just stay in the body's language of it, in the sensation, not in the story. And through guidance, you become very good at this, of coming back into the body, into the sensation. And then as it emerges, we start to be with it. So now we're going to start to use different somatic sort of experiences, breath, movement, posture, voice, opening, closing, spinning, whatever we need to do to sort of like now kind of like get in flow with this thing that's arising, with this emotion or energy that's emerging, with these sensations. We start to sort of like lock in and like move with them. Let the body guide the movement, the expression, whatever is needed. We might need to vocalize. We might need to be audible. Whatever is needed, we're kind of letting the experience come from the body. this really quiets the mind because now you're really tuning in and listening to the body and moving in the way the body wants to move. If I have something coming up and I get tight, what I'm literally doing is holding it like this so it can't go anywhere. And because I've just contained it and created a source, now it's going right into my mind as thoughts. Now my mind is just going, 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 going because I've said, nope, I don't like this discomfort. I'm going to hold it here. I'm not going to move. And then now I've created a hive and all the bees are going to start pouring out. What we want to do is connect with that source and disperse it and move it so that it just goes like this. And you will notice the mind gets quiet. And even if the mind starts to say, don't do that, that doesn't feel good, etc., then you're going to notice, oh, I'm listening to the story, because you might stop, you might resist. In those moments, you're going to be able to recognize I'm in the story. I'm not in the sensation anymore because I've stopped moving. This is exactly how our lives look when we are living in a story and not in the sensation. We stop moving. And the more that we can continue to move the body through that story, connected to the sensation, the quieter the mind becomes, and the actual clearing out of the sensation can take place. So we go from elicit to emerge to experience. We connect with the breath. It starts to be slow. Then we start to speed up to expression. We're doing more expression. We might have some anger. We want to say fuck you to somebody, or this fucking sucks or something. We might have some kind of words that want to come up, some breath that wants to come up. Perhaps we want to punch something. Perhaps we want to open our arms. We want to exhale big. We want to cry. We want to let this expression is going to start to come up as we're with the experience. The expression comes up, and then we're going to bring the breath a little bit deeper. We're going to ground a little bit more to the expelling. Now we're really clearing space. We're really clearing it out. By this time, the mind is like quiet and you're just like fully in your body, fully in the experience, really breathing. The music, I have music during this process. It gets louder, it gets more deeper. And then we go into after the expelling, and we have created space. And you will feel that space. You will feel your energy moving. You will feel lighter. You will feel more free in your body. Your mind will be quiet. You will feel more in control, because even though your mind said, resist, 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 you didn't listen. You persisted. You were like, no, I'm going to persist. I'm going to keep moving until the mind gets quiet as the body starts to clear out. If we stop, if you notice, just do it in the process. Just stop and see what happens with the mind and how it starts to pick up so much more, because you have contained that emotion or that experience and the mind is now taking over. And so you stay with the sensation, the mind quiets and the body clears. And then we get to expression, and then we get to, we were at expel. Yeah, expel after expression. And then we get to empowerment. And so you're going to then ask a question to that space. We ask a question and we land it in that space that we're now very aware of and connected to. And then you receive what comes up. And every time something comes up, it's so beautifully, powerfully aligned and exactly what we need to hear. And then as that comes up, it is going to rise up with its own energy and its own sensation. And it's going to feel light or expansive or freeing or warm or ecstatic or empowering or vibrational. It's going to come up with its own vibrational experience of what that emotion, message, energy brings with it. And then you're going to do a similar thing where you open up and you allow yourself to receive that message, receive that empowerment, receive that information. And we really start to posture and open up and sit up and do what that new information wants us to do with it. And then we say, we're going to take an aligned action. Again, we receive that from that space, from that place, because we've cleared out some of the mind. This new belief, thought, emotion, idea has risen up. And now this is going to start to realign our mind or realign our bodies. And then we say, what is an aligned action that I'm going to take from this place? That also will come up for you. And then now we are going to take that aligned action into our lives. And this is how we go from embodiment to empowerment, how we go from safety to empowerment to embodiment. And as we live the aligned action, we start to create based on that new way of being, start to bring our thoughts and beliefs and our actions start to line up with that new way of being. And then this is how we create a new experience of ourselves and our lives. And so that is the embodiment process. That is somatic therapy. That is why this new way of doing therapy is completely taking over everything because it is just, scientifically, evidently, experientially, a much more deeper, sustainable, powerful, beautiful, um, accessible way of healing, and not only healing, but of then calling into your life what is aligned with who you actually are, who you're actually meant to be, what you actually want. It is not this experience. When we're just working with the mind, what we have to actually do is disconnect from the body because the body is going to continue to try to influence. It's going to continue to try to make you aware of what's unhealed because that's what our system wants us to do. It wants us to heal. So if I'm only working with the mind, I'm just trying to change my thoughts, change my thoughts, change my thoughts, and I'm not healing the body's continuing to like break down and have this like very, uncomfortable, unhealthy experience because I'm still holding everything in the body. I haven't done anything with it. And so what we then have to do is go into like numbing behaviors, which, no offense to anyone who's on medications or anything, but that is a form of a numbing behavior. We're stopping the feeling, we're stopping the information. And this is, some people need to sort of get to this point. Like they need to have, if it's so overwhelming, then you might need to sort of smooth it out so that you can start to work on it and then you can, come off the medications as you want. I'm seeing more and more people really not wanting to rely on medications and really wanting to do the more deeper sustainable healing, which I am obsessed with because I was wanting this back like 6 years ago. So now that it's here, I'm so happy. But yes, if we're working with just cognitive behavior, just talk therapies, we're really having to come out of the body because we're not actually honoring the fact that there's wisdom there, that there's these emotions have something that they want us to do with them, that healing them and releasing them is actually what the body needs. And it will keep trying to influence the mind so that we are paying attention to the body. It'll keep trying to get your attention. And the more we try to numb it out, the more we try to numb it out just to work with the thoughts, it'll just continue to like kind of break down silently. And we will continue to think that they have nothing to do with each other, but like they have everything to do with each other. It's just that we separated them ourselves. So yes, a lot of people who are just doing that, they may be doing other knowing behaviors, not just medication, also like shopping, watching TV and, not feeling your feelings in any way, shape, or form, overeating, overworking, never slowing down. All of these things are ways that I'm basically numbing and completely disconnecting from my body. Because as soon as I stop doing any of these things, boom, emotions come up and I don't know what to do with them. So I just keep numbing them out. The embodiment process, somatic work really teaches you, I actually don't have to run from my emotions. There's actually so much wisdom in them, and it actually feels really good to move through them. The embodiment process feels so good. This is what I really wanted, was to show you that your emotions can feel powerful and not painful, and that there's a lot of wisdom in them. And the way that you can connect to your body is very empowering for you, very empowering for your life, and accessible to everyone. So if you made it this far, I also have 2 ways that you can sort of experience this. I am doing a masterclass May 29th from 6 to 7:30. It's a free masterclass. I'm going to do some teaching, and then I'm also going to walk everyone through the experience of the embodiment process, which I'm really excited about. You'll also get the replay so you can continue to kind of master it yourself. I am going to be doing a 4-week embodiment process offer where for over 4 weeks we really we move through and you feel the power and the growth that happens between you and your body and your ability to receive information from your body. This is such a powerful thing to do. If you have something happening in your body and you can drop in and receive what your body is trying to communicate to you, it's next level. I can actually do this with clients. I can actually drop in to their bodies and receive what their body is trying to communicate to them. And like, it's just such a next level for you to be able to do this for yourself. And so that's one offer. We have the masterclass that will lead into the 4-week embodiment process, where I will guide you through both intuitively with my ability to tune in, encouraging you to go deeper, to go wider, to receive that message, to embody it, etc. And then I also have a group. Um, membership that I'm going to start to offer that's going to involve basically all of my modalities. So we'll be doing yoga one week, we'll be doing teaching one week, we'll be doing breath work, we'll be doing hypnosis, we'll be doing hypnotherapy, we'll be doing the embodiment process, we will be doing coaching live, we will be doing parts work, basically all of the healings that can happen, we're going to be doing in this membership. And so that will be doing twice a month. It's a very sort of nice, easy entryway to working with me, to staying aligned. It will be called Stay Aligned, to sort of staying aligned, having that upkeep, having that, constant support, having that community support, and having access to the replays, etc. So those two options will be available. More information will be coming on those. And yes, I look forward to seeing you in the embodiment process, in the masterclass, or in the group. I also continue to offer my one-on-ones, massage, which I'm obsessed with, the hot stone tea, the tarot. I'm also bringing more tarot out. Tarot actually came back to me because I could tell that my next level was a more discerning, more assertive version of myself. And the tarot really wanted to like pull that from me more, which is part of my own healing because as a kid, I was a very sort of intuitive person. And when that is shut down, then we start to lack, or I specifically, but this is a general thing, start to lack trust in ourselves and our intuition. We start to question and doubt or hold back. Because if you are in the subconscious so much and people are not aware fully of what's in their subconscious, and then you offer something to somebody and they're not even really privy to it in themselves yet, they might, reject what you're saying, which used to happen to me a lot. Now I've learned to trust my intuition, my sort of reading, my sort of interpretation and intuition about that. And the tarot cards really help me to pull that through even more. So I will be offering tarot readings in the membership as well, which I'm super excited about. And when I do massage, I do tea and tarot and massage. And even at the end of some therapy sessions, if it feels aligned, I'll pull out the tarot cards and kind of get a more decisive message, a more clear message, like from the divine. So that's it. Really happy with that session, with that episode. And I will be talking about possibly love in the next episode. And I hope that you will tune in. So enjoy your day. I'm sending you so much love. And thanks for listening.